Hi everyone, very nice meeting you. My name is Lynda Ouazar, originally from Algeria. I'm a human rights activist, filmmaker as well. The film that you're gonna watch in a moment is called Hidden Lives in the Hostile Environment. It's a collaborative documentary with The Guardian as part of a series called Made in Britain by John Democus. So the film is about the state of people and the hardship they go through as a consequence of the hostile environment during the pandemic. It looks at the food poverty, the inequalities, and so on in East London. So I was very lucky to make this film because at the same time I was running a food bank called Solidarity Britannia. You will see that in the film as well, which has made a contact with the people very easy, because usually people are really scared to speak on camera. So yeah, I hope you like the film. Thank you. So I was already running Solidarity Britannia Food Bank, and then we started filming. It took us about 2 years because of many reasons. You know, the lockdown, the restrictions was very hard. As you see, there was a lot of wearing masks, but also getting people to speak. Geetan was ill, he went to hospital, so there were times where we were not filming like 2 years non-stop, but yeah, nearly 2 years.
And so you want to say what you've been doing since, or just
Yeah, well, since this film finished, I wasn't sure whether I was gonna make another one, because mentally it was exhausting, you know, dealing with all these emotions. You know, the film is 20 minutes, 23 minutes, but as I said, took about 2 years, so there was lots of filming, and we spoke to so many people telling their stories, heartbreaking stories. Not everything is in the film, so mentally it was very hard. But lately I've started working on a new documentary about the campaign in Brick Lane, to save Brick Lane. So yeah.
After talking to them, what was your impression about accommodation if they don't have, you know, access to social funds? Where do they live, these people?
It's a very good question. Actually, the person that you see in the film that we call Adam to protect his identity, that's not his real name. He first contacted me on Messenger. He's a delivery driver. The way it works is that they rent rooms, so they pay rent every week. So they work, they get a little bit of money, they pay the rent. But at the beginning of the pandemic, they couldn't work, so they couldn't pay rent. So the landlord started checking them out, evicting them, even though the government was saying that, you know, evictions are not allowed. But these people were in the street. So he first went to the street, and then he managed to find a space with one of his friends. There were 14 males in one bedroom. Not one bedroom flat, one bedroom. So that is not a unique story. So many of them went through that. So many families had little children as well. They had nowhere to go, so the government did not think of them at all. I don't know if you've seen Boris Johnson being asked about no recourse public funds, not knowing what he meant. So a government policy made by his government. But that's the reality, unfortunately.
That was amazing, by the way, like really, really amazing. Do you think, just in your own experiences, because obviously there's like really incredible examples of like solidarity in communities, you know, wanting to help each other and stuff, right? But like the rhetoric in the papers seems also like it's only getting worse. Do you think actually like within communities and among people, do you think people are feeling more, not charitable, but more empathetic and understanding towards undocumented migrants? Or do you think that actually the perception is kind of getting worse with the cost of living?
Another very good question. I think that showing solidarity in times of crisis is great. You know, when the pandemic happened, straight I thought of helping people. Lots of people did it. But I don't think that on a longer term, this should be happening. Like food banks everywhere in the UK. I think it's a national scandal. If you are a surgeon, you cannot ask a nurse to operate the patient. You know, this is the responsibility of the government to make sure that people are not falling behind the cracks. Children are treated equally, you know. Children who are no-recourse public funds are not getting food vouchers, not school meals, etc., etc. So my personal belief and my personal experience is that yes, it's great to do it, but on a longer term, other solutions need to come in place. It's a policy, the policy needs to change. Otherwise, it's creating a conflict between the people themselves, you know, because those who are documented are also suffering, and they feel like they taken our food. So it's creating the conflict between the people themselves, which shouldn't happen, really.
Hi.
Well done for the work in the documentary. I think one observation, so over the pandemic, lots of mutual aid groups set up lots of new kind of food banks, and in the refugee, asylum seeker kind of sector, there are hundreds of charities doing work, especially since 2015 in Calais, and one thing that I feel is someone who does work and do practical work, but is also a political activist and a campaigning activist, is that one of the things I really object to as part of this kind of new growing sector is that some really make a point of saying what we're doing is not political, what we're doing is not, we're just humanitarian, yeah? And so there becomes a bit of a division of labour or a characterisation of the political people as being political, and they're just doing something humanitarian and, just practical. And I think this kind of discourse does need to be challenged. And I also think that there should be a kind of inbuilt understanding that if you're going to step in and provide a service in the community, yes, you will always be overworked, but say 15-20% of your time has to go into coordinating with other organisations, because one of the things that happens in an area like Brent, or anywhere where there's a proliferation of organisations, is that, people are just too busy doing their own thing. And there's a lot of stuff, good stuff going on, that not enough people see it as a priority to kind of come together, and strategise, coordinate, identify the issues as being general and then campaign, and not see campaigning or engaging with the political system as like some kind of dirty function that some other people are going to do. So yeah, that's kind of my feeling after like 2.5 years of amazing voluntary activity. That this volunteering is political and people should own it and give time to organising together.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't disagree with you. That's true.
I think that's a good segue into Citizens UK.